The need to address climate change across sectors has become more urgent. One sector that we do not talk about often is fashion. The industry makes a sizable contribution to climate change. Did you know fashion as a sector contributes 4% to total greenhouse emissions, and that is the data from 2018. This is basically equivalent of emissions of France, Germany and the UK put together. According to McKinsey, the industry needs to cut emissions by half by year 2030. In this scenario, a lot of brands are working on ensuring sustainable clothing. Love the World Today is an organic and sustainable clothing brand. I spoke to the founders Dipna and Dipti and asked them about their plans in sustainable clothing.
So, fashion as an industry is one of the top five polluting industries. It is a huge problem because often what happens is we don't realize how long the entire value chain in fashion is. So, usually, typically, when you go to purchase something, you'll probably look at the style, the design, and the price, but you never really look at the tag, which gives you all the details about where the garment is made, right? And that, when you start thinking about these questions, is when you realize that the whole value chain entails right from the farming stage. So there's a farmer who's probably growing, the crop out of which your garment is made, if it is a natural garment like cotton or something, for example. Then that is made into yarn. Then there is a dyeing stage where the colors, etc., are involved. There is then fabric making stage. There is, the stage of designing the garment, manufacturing the garment, packaging it, sending it to retails or, or whatever, wherever it's being sold from, and then finally reaching the consumer. So when you look at the entire value chain, there are way too many steps and processes involved, and every step of the way has a massive, massive impact on the environment. We essentially work with natural fibers and textiles. We work extensively with organic cotton. We work extensively with hand-woven textiles, because for us, sustainability is also about looking at the whole cultural and economic purview. It's the materials that we work with, the method in which we work, the design elements that we're looking into, especially because these are kids' garments and we want them to last long, because kids outgrow clothes very fast. It's also about offering the solution to customers about what happens once their kids outgrow the garments, because then they can send these garments back to us and we can upcycle them. And for the ones who do not have anyone to pass it on to or do not want to send it for upcycling, we also have tied up with a circular fashion tech integration on our website, which allows customers to resell the garments and keep it in circulation for longer. It's called Relove. And that's not where it ends, about how the whole loop is, but also with respect to packaging. Given that we are an e-commerce brand, it's very essential for us to care about how that's happening. So we use upcycled hotel linen to package our garments. And finally, when the Love the World Today courier reaches a customer, it reaches in a recycled, reusable and returnable packaging, for which we've tied up with a brand called Think Ecovia, so that we can ensure that even our courier bags are in circulation at least 150 times, and even with our leftover scrap and textile waste, we upcycle them into smaller accessories, etc., to really, really try and be, our vision is to be a zero waste brand. But at the moment, we're doing everything possible in our capacity to intervene at every step of the way.
Now, there are a lot of ways in which brands can go ahead and ensure sustainable processes and supply chain. Decarbonizing material production and processing, minimizing production and manufacturing waste, and decarbonizing garment manufacturing. Improvement in energy efficiency, of course, is some of the more ideas that we can talk about. They can also focus on natural fibers and improving packaging of the business. But is it easy to get a sustainable supply chain? What about recycling option? Here is what Love the World Today founder had to say.
When you look at the production excess or the fabrics which are, in excess at the production units, the selvages which get cut out and are actually otherwise land up in landfills, we make products out of them. We make accessories out of them, which are then like clips and, hair clips, hair hats, bags for children. So we try and ensure that the longevity of the garment or the fabrics that we're using is really long is extended as much as possible, and it's not actually discarded or being sent to the landfills. So these are a few interventions. In terms of recycling and upcycling, the endeavor is to be a zero waste brand. So how much ever we can intervene in the process and, utilize our production excess, we are doing our max on that front in terms of creating more and more products. Like Dipna also mentioned, we have a platform called as Relove, where it's a circular tech platform, and our customers have an option to actually resell Love the World Today garments. So it's like a thrift store. So the life of the garment actually gets extended on the planet. And in terms of recycling, I think as a brand, right now in the scale at which we are operating, recycling is tough because we don't get that much back, in terms of garments, which can then be again put into recycling. But I think as an aggregate and as part of the industry, there's a lot that can be done. This is something which is in the pipeline for us. We are exploring recycled fabrics also, for making newer garments. And that's our agenda for this year, to look at alternative materials as well.
Surveys show that nearly 5% of all landfill space is consumed by textile waste. Besides, 20% of all freshwater pollution is made by textile treatment and dyeing. So brands have to ramp up and find creative and newer ways to address this issue. I asked Love the World Today their plan.
We want to step into is certifications at a brand level, and also working on measuring impact, because I think that's another segment that we need to bring more transparency and education and awareness for our customers. Third is definitely finding ways to offset all the carbon emissions that we are making as a brand to create products, because even if we're choosing better alternatives, there are still resources being consumed which will lead to carbon emissions. So for us, it's very critical to make sure that we find ways to offset that as we grow. Definitely explore more materials, because there are more sustainable alternatives also, apart from, say, handloom textiles, natural textiles, and organic cotton. There are fabrics like bamboo, hemp, etc. That is something that we want to explore.